What's going on, everybody? My name is Mezariah, and I'm back with another video. Today's video is going to be about Joan and Toni, the empath versus the narcissist. Before we start this video, I want you to please subscribe and like and comment and let me know how you feel about this video. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you feel about the drawing. Give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs down. You can do whatever you want. Just interact, engage with me, and let me know how you feel. I'll put my email down in the description, and I'll we can converse through through email if you want. But I want to start by talking about my other videos that I did. I did a video on Brandy and the curse of the Moesha cast, and I went into depth about the spiritual implications of a certain episode entitled Chain, Chain, Chain. And I kind of discussed basically what happened when they said certain words and they spoke, they did a ritual in a sense, and I showed how it manifested into their real lives. So I want you guys to really look at that video, because that was one of my biggest revelations that I've kind of came up with. One of my theories that I kind of came up with because of the context that you have of the spiritual world and how things work. So I kind of indulged in that, and it was kind of fun, honestly, for me to make that revelation and to realize, how things go and what was happening in those videos. I mean, in the show. And I did another video on Tory Lanez. I did Tory Lanez. I spoke on him in of course, the Megan Thee Stallion shooting and what I think, and how I perceive it to be. I gave my truth, but a lot of people don't like when you give your own truth, so they get offended. But it is what it is. I mean, it's a lot to the whole case of Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion, and I kind of gave an honest opinion. Because I try to be fair with everything. I never let anybody try to tell me or how to tell me how to think in a way. So I had to really think about my own opinion and formulate my own thoughts when it came to the situation. So that's what I did, and I'm unapologetic about it, because I really don't care what people say or do to me or about me. And I'm fine with that. But anyway, I wanted to jump right into Toni and Joan. So I'll give a little bit of a backstory of Girlfriends. Most of us have watched Girlfriends, and everybody kind of knows what Girlfriends is all about. So if for people that don't know, Girlfriends came out in the year 2000. And that was about when I was 6. I was going on 7. That's a long time ago, 20 years ago. Wow. But it came out 2000, and it was one of those shows that all of our mothers watch, all of the older people watch, and it was a grown-up show. And we didn't know how to perceive it. We were kids, and these were 90s kids kind of coming out watching this, but we didn't really think too much of it. So we kind of just didn't pay too much attention to it. But now that we're older, we look at things differently because we have a great experience at life, and we kind of see things through a different perspective. And I kind of watched Girlfriends when I was like a teenager, so I kind of definitely have an understanding of what the show is. A prior understanding, because I definitely watched certain pieces and certain episodes here and there. But as an adult, you really indulge in it. It's like, wow, it's a lot of toxicity in friendships and relationships, period. And you kind of just like, what? Like, how did this even happen? How did, human beings even allow this to happen in their life? And we kind of just pick it apart. And Girlfriends came out on Netflix along with Moesha and along with The Parkers and Half and Half and so many other, black sitcoms. And Girlfriends was one of my favorites, only because of the dialogue and how they merged comedy and drama really well. I love the dynamic, as a man, I did love Girlfriends. It was just really, the show was it was done well. You know, a lot of shows just kind of do one-liners and they want people's reactions in a comedic way. And the comedic timing is great in that show, but it really gives you a bit of dramatics too that everybody kind of wants that balance, you know. But I realized, you know, all the girls on that show, all the ladies did a beautiful job portraying their characters, and they were all very unique. You know, they brought something different, and that's what I like. But the main character I feel like was always Joan, because she was kind of like the go-to person for everybody. Everybody would kind of go to her for advice. They would kind of go to her for like money issues and so many different things, and they would all kind of link up at her house in a sense. So not even in a sense, it was just really that's what they did. They would all come to her house. Her house was like the spot, and she invited everybody to her house. You know, her happy place, her own space. And Joan was basically the empath of the whole group. You know, you had Joan, the empath. You had Toni, which is the narcissist, and then you had Maya, the balance, you know, around the way girl, and then you had Lynn, the real free spirited, kind of unbalanced character. She didn't really have much of her own, you know, but she was really loving and free spirited and kind of did what she wanted. But today I want to really indulge in Toni and Joan because their dynamic is so relatable and to me, but I feel like it's relatable in so many different friendships in the world, you know, through society. We kind of look at these shows and we kind of take from what we see, you know, and apply it to our lives subconsciously sometimes, you know. And Joan and Toni's friendship was just so toxic. It was that friendship that you know, that love hate, but it was definitely more love because they definitely loved each other. But I can't even say it was really hate, honestly. But it was just like realizing that it was a lot of toxicity in the friendship, you know. And one episode was what I wanted to refer to when Toni, Toni's boyfriend Greg came to Joan's house, and he wanted to confide in Joan about Toni, and she thought he had talked to her about the man that Toni was cheating on him with, which was the doctor, and Joni picked. I said Joni. Joan brought up the situation with the man that Toni was cheating on with, and Greg did not know, but of course Joan didn't know, so she kind of broke Greg and Toni up by accident, and she didn't want to tell Toni because she knew Toni would react a certain way. But she eventually she got to the point where it was eating her alive, and she kind of just said, "Forget it, I'm going to tell her." And they were in Jamaica when she told her this. All the friends were in Jamaica, and you know, Toni had found out what Joan did by accident, and Toni just slapped her, you know. So it was kind of like dead from there, you know. And then I think it was the same exact episode when Joan came back from Jamaica and she caught Toni on the couch with Joan's boyfriend Sean, and it looked more than what it was, but it was more so Toni trying to seduce Sean. But you know, Sean was a recovering sex addict, and he kind of like was trying to defend himself, like, no, this is not what it was. It's not what you think. And of course, surprisingly, Joan was okay with it. I mean, she wasn't okay with it, but she didn't react as Joan or react as Toni would have done to Joan, you know, if Toni had caught her in that friendship. I mean, in that situation. But what's so surprising to me, it just goes to show you how much of an empathic person Joan is. She loves Toni so much that she's willing to bypass so many things that, Toni has done to her, and it just goes to show you how her level of love that she has for her, and she will allow that. You know what I mean? And that's what I think their friendship their foundation was on. It was always the foundation of what Toni wanted and how she wanted to do things, and what she always wanted, the control in the friendship, and she would use that control by her own trauma or her own problems, and she would put it all on Joan. And it was another episode when I think this is before Sean, before Joan even met Sean. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was a episode when Joan was dating the guy. He plays on a lot of shows. I forgot his name, but he plays on the show Eve with the rapper Eve, and his name is JT, and he's Shelly's boyfriend, and he plays on a lot of shows. But he was a potential man for Joan's life, and they were dating, and he wanted to she wanted to marry him, and she was inquiring about possible marriage, and he wasn't okay with it. And I think a year later, Toni is with that same guy in Joan's house trying to date him, and it was just like a stab in the back, another from Toni. And whole time she's needing Joan so many times in her life because of what she goes through and how she can't deal with certain things. And we all know Toni is, self-absorbed and only cares about her feelings and only cares about, the things that she's going through. And she'll start talking about her own self because she's so self-absorbed. And you kind of see that, through the show, like through all the episodes. You see how she always relates the topic right back to herself. And somebody could be talking about their own problems, and she'll take it right back to her. And that's one of the narcissistic traits that she has. But you can tell the love that Joan had for her. When you love somebody so much, you can kind of just look at certain things a certain way, and then you'll overthink something, and then you'll be like, well, maybe I'm being too sensitive. You know what I mean? But no, you're never being too sensitive. And I think that could have been what Joan was doing, if we go really into depth about it. When you look at the spiritual implications of, that friendship. But I say that I brought all of those examples up to show you how the empath works and the narcissist works. Now, as a believer in God, I don't like to use certain terms. I don't necessarily want to use like certain terms because I know that doesn't, it's not biblical, but words sometimes are just words, you know what I mean? And it's always the intent. So when I say empath or narcissist, it's not to, speak of like a metaphysical aspect. It's definitely biblical in my perspective. I try to attribute attribute everything that I say to like a spiritual principle. You know what I mean? Or I try to connect the dots in some way. So the spiritual implication of their friendship is the behind the scenes. They're fighting each other in the spiritual realm. They are fighting each other. Yes, they are fighting each other. Joan's spirit is fighting Toni's, which is so interesting because you, from the physical, you see, the emotions being brought up and the problems going back and forth. But what's happening behind the scenes, what we can't see, when the unseen world, which is the spiritual realm, Joan is fighting Toni, and Toni is fighting Joan because Toni wants something from Joan spiritually. Toni wants something. She wants something, and she wants that peace that Joan has. You know what I mean? She doesn't know how Joan deals with certain things, And of course, in the show, you don't really know too much of their beliefs. But, this brings me back to one episode. when they were in the church. This was season 2, episode 7. I think a lot of people are fans of this episode because it was so intense and it was so emotional, and it will make you tear up a little bit because it was just so raw. So this episode, I'm not sure if this was towards the end of it, but Joan was sitting in the church and Maya and Lynn come in the church, and right behind Maya and Lynn, you have Toni coming in, and Joan was like, "Really? Are you really going to bring her right here?" And she was upset and annoyed, and of course Toni she tried to plead her case. She tried to plead her case and basically tell her that she's sorry, she loves her, and she's the only person that she's ever needed as a friend, that she needs her so much for everything. And Joan was like, I know that took a lot for you to say, and I appreciate you, but I can't do this anymore. I can't. And Joan was fed up, and she was doing the right path. She was doing what she had to do for her own being, because her spirit was being drained. And people don't realize how draining that is. They look at the empath as this always happy person, this person that can handle everything, and empaths can kind of generally handle a lot because they look at things differently. But if you have so many people in your life trying to take something from you, take anything, anything, your joy, your peace, anything, eventually you're going to be drained, and you're going to give it all away to everybody else, and they'll have your joy, your peace, your understanding, your wisdom, everything, and you'll be left with nothing. And I think Joan kind of realized that. She was kind of just overwhelmed with the overbearing Toni Childs. I'll say that. But the church scene was really powerful though, because she stood her ground, and when Joan said her piece to Toni, she got up and went to the other side of the church, and all Toni could do was sit there and just cry, and she saw Donnie McClurkin preaching, and I guess she felt that word, the Holy Spirit got into her for that 1 minute. The Holy Spirit can come into you and you start understanding things and you make revelations. And she went to she walked to the front of the church and she started crying, and then Joan saw Toni crying and she started crying and went up to her and hugged her, and I think she just stood by her, but she felt bad, and that's the thing, empaths feel bad for doing things that it wasn't even her fault. She was setting boundaries, and that's the sad thing about it. She was setting boundaries and she felt guilty. We empaths, I don't want to put myself on this pedestal again, because I like to be humble, you know what I mean, when I say that I'm an empath. But I know who I am. I know I'm, a soft-hearted guy. I love to see people happy. I love to see people do well. But I've learned that we love hard and we want the good for everybody, and we feel guilty for doing certain things. People get mad when we break up friendships and do things our own ways, and we set boundaries, and some people are not okay with that, and that's the most selfish thing ever. They're not okay with that, and it was one episode I remember when this was before the church scene. I think this was before the church scene, when it was actually a series of episodes when Joan wanted to go to therapy for Toni Childs. And Joan had realized, I'm kind of tired of this friendship. It's just one-sided, but I realized if you got to go to therapy for a friend, then that friend does not need to be in your life. Does not need to be in your life. You can cut a friend off if you want, You can't have somebody in your life just draining you, and nobody's pouring into you, you know what I mean? And you're pouring into everybody. That's not fair, But she felt like that she had to go to therapy for Toni, a friend. A friend is not supposed to cause that much turmoil in your life. And if you go to Proverbs 17:17, it says, "A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity." Now, of course, when you see brother or man or like any masculine terms or like he, the word he in the Bible, it's representing man and woman, because of course when you're referring to something, they use the masculine term or the masculine approach to reference different genders. So it's not like you can't, even as a woman, you can't take this verse and apply it to your life. You can definitely take this verse and apply it to your life. So of course, if we're talking about Joan and Toni, it would say, "A friend loves at all times, and a sister is born for adversity." But that is so true, because me and my brother, we always had our problems. We always had this like rivalry in a sense, like it's a love-hate relationship, but we love each other way more than we hate each other. We don't even hate each other, honestly. There's no hate there, because I love my brother to death. But that's when you have sibling rivalry, it's bound to happen. It's bound, when you have a sibling, it's bound to have sibling rivalry. You're going to argue with your brother, you're going to argue with your sister. But a friend, you're not supposed to argue with your friend all the time. Your friend is there to lift you up and be there and comfort you and have your back. You know what I mean? And it was one-sided. And Toni definitely didn't do anything for Joan but give her problems, and that was the problem. And it was just one-sided. And Joan had got fed up, and that's how I believe that Toni is the narcissist. She has the Jezebel spirit. The Jezebel spirit is the spirit of control, the spirit of manipulation. You know what I mean? She manipulated Joan through her own problems, like I said before. And I think they indulged a little bit on their childhood when they were through a couple of episodes when Joan was, saying how she was a nerd and she got bullied, and Toni had her back and everything. But a lot of people use that. They use that to manipulate people into thinking that I always have your back, and that. But the whole time they're trying to take possession of you like they're your property. You know what I mean? That's that controlling spirit, and that spirit of overbearingness. It's just anything that involves control or power. You know what I mean? But you soon realize that the people that do that, the people that prey on people's innocence and prey on people's weakness because of their kindness, shows you how weak they are. You know what I mean? Joan is definitely the strong one. Now, Joan, she definitely has her own issues. She has her issues when it comes to men, and when the sense of she's always looking for the perfect one, and she's trying to make her own man, like in a factory or something. Like he's going to be so perfect, and she can be very uptight about things, and that's where her downfall is. But other than that, Joan, she lets Lynn stay in the house whenever she wants. She let Maya comes over, talks about her marriage, and she does all these things. And of course, Toni just needs Joan for everything, and do this and do that and do this, and it's overwhelming. I can understand that, and I see myself a little bit in Joan. As a man, I can say that, because I feel like whenever we watch something, it's some spiritual implication to things. You can see you in one character, even if it is a woman being portrayed. You can see yourself in certain characters. So definitely, those women that play those parts, and of course all have some type of effect on your life in some sense. You know what I mean? When you're watching something, you kind of see things differently, and you kind of see who you are, of course, and while you're watching while you're watching shows like this. But Joan and Toni's friendship was, the most toxic thing ever. It was so hard to see that, because we, even though it's a show, it's like, wow, you can see how a person can just break you down, and they are the epitome of protecting your energy. You have to protect your energy. It took Toni, to go to church to see her, her faults, and sometimes that's what it takes. Some people really don't know God out here. They don't know God, and of course, Joan did. Joan did. She went to church. Not saying that church is going to save you. I'm just saying church. She believed in Christ. So Toni, I don't think really did, but she was trying to find that path. But she, instead of her doing that, she took advantage of Joan and used her and became obsessed with her in a sense, because when you need somebody to find your happiness, then you are completely weak. You are weak. If you can't find the love in you by yourself and through another entity, then you're weak. If you prey on other people to make you happy, then you are the weakest link, period. And that's what Toni was in my eyes. She's the weakest link because she was addicted to Joan in a sense. She needed that. She needed that narcissistic supply, and Joan wasn't having it. But of course, Joan fell into the trap of the tears. And Toni could have been genuine, because when you leave somebody like that, I can understand how it feels. But she could have kept going and looked the other way. But of course, it's the show. Friends go through things. But I feel like Joan and Toni, in real life, if this was real life, they should have ended it. And I think that Joan kind of dug herself a grave, because she kind of kept doing it. You know what I mean? Afterwards, she got a little better. And Toni got a little better with her life, because the dynamic started to change, and she realized Joan was strong. She was like, you know what, Joan, I'm gonna deal with this. And even back to the therapy episodes when Joan was going to therapy, she realized that, because Toni wanted to even control that dynamic between Joan and her therapist. She actually wound up barging in one of their sessions and sat down and took the therapy with Joan, and said that, and kind of just controlled the whole situation. And Joan let her, but that's what a narcissist does. They want that power. They want to be the one controlling. They don't want anybody to tell you what's good for you. They want to tell you what's good for you, but at the same time taking your spiritual glory. You know what I mean? Taking that power from you. And that's the sad thing. It's so sad. But I hope you guys enjoyed this piece. I really enjoy, going over these things with you guys, and I hope you guys really think about who's in your life. Think about who is in your life and why are they there? Why are they there? That's important, because every time somebody comes in your life, they come in there for a reason. It's either to lift you up, to help you, or to break you down. A lot of people are here to break you down, and it's so important. And if you don't know God, you may be doomed. I'm not. I don't. It's scary. And it just goes to show you, like, God is always in control. They want these wicked people want your light. They want to take everything from you. They want everything to themselves. People are selfish. People are really, really selfish out here, and Joan can be an example. Just because it's TV, don't think it's not an example. You know what I mean? Take these shows and use it for your own good to watch. You know what I mean? Certain things. Let these things be an example to you. Let that, everything you watch, everything you take in, let it be an example, and see how you can apply it to your life. But with that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this drawing. I really enjoyed, drawing Joan. But I hope you guys like it. Let me know how you feel about it. And I'm out of here. I'll see you next video.